Most Scots' application to university is flagged, and this proceeds to Edinburgh's Widening Participation initiative, giving priority to them but only in a pool of equally qualified candidates. This is to recognise the unique hardships of the socio-economic background that may, for example, come with the absence of tutors and study resources that mean these students are often working extra hard for the same results as non-flagged peers in the candidate pool. However, despite this uplifting ethos, a survey conducted by the university's Scottish Social Mobility Society found that 88% of Scottish flagged students feel that they are not represented on campus and that 97% feel that the university does not do enough to support flagged students. Every year, almost 50,000 students flock to the campus of Edinburgh University, located in the picturesque capital city of Scotland, to begin a journey of learning that will change their lives. And for many, this is a dream come true. Getting into Edinburgh University was never really a realistic option for me, due to the financial pressures of having to move to the city. But when I received extra funding, I couldn't turn down the prestigious university offer. I was really excited to come to university and meet all new friends and really socialise and integrate. But I found feelings of self-isolation crept in really quickly. My first couple of days, I was constantly getting comments on my accent, getting asked what school I went to, and I had no clue what they meant. I would just say I was from a school in Dumfries, and it took me so long to click on to the fact that they meant private school. At this point, I felt like I needed a saving grace, and I thought changing courses or ultimately dropping out would have to be the answer. Thankfully, I stuck it out, and I realised that now I'm not the only person that feels this way.
I did really struggle when I started, and I'd actually considered dropping out within the first few weeks because I was really struggling with maintaining a job and also commuting, and it was a lot of pressure and there was no support that I was aware of.
I got to uni on my first day and, obviously I went to my course event, I went to whatever, but most people were in kind of groups of people in their halls or they'd already found those people, and I just remember like getting there and just bursting out crying because I was like, I didn't know anyone, I didn't know what I was doing, and all these things are really, really difficult.
I don't think there was anyone from my high school here, and seeing like other groups of students, like, I did feel othered, and then I started doing classes, and then it's like even just small things like just talking to someone and then being like, sorry, what? Because like they couldn't understand the accent, and I've not even got a strong accent.
A lot of the time it has felt as if I've been sort of alone in these issues, and I'm always sort of by myself dealing with it, and I'm like, why does it seem like no one else is feeling this way? But obviously I don't see what's inside. I see people externally that are looking at a laptop typing.
Honestly, don't really know any commuter students or people that would call themselves commuter students. I wouldn't even call myself it because like I still live in Edinburgh, but it still does take the same amount of time as coming from like Linlithgow when it's like in rush hour.
The main issue that the uni sees is with students in halls, and I think is by the time I graduate that won't have changed at all, because most commuting students are kind of just in the background of the uni. They aren't really prevalent in societies or anything like that. So in the grand scheme of things to the uni, commuting students don't really matter.
So as I am asking all of you, what were your reasons for being a commuting student? Why have you chose not to move out?
I didn't really feel ready at the time, and I knew I was doing a year abroad in third year, so I was like, oh well, if I'll get the experience anyway, and then if I really like it, I'll do it in fourth year. But then I liked it, and then I was like, oh, I don't think I can afford that after doing a year abroad, and so I've just stayed at home because I can't afford it.
I'm from Whitburn, right in between Glasgow and Edinburgh, so I did weigh up if accommodation was worth it, but it's a distance that I can commute, so yeah.
So purely kind of financial reasons?
Mostly financial reasons, yeah, absolutely.
Student accommodation, especially rented accommodation, is becoming progressively more and more expensive, and that's something I hear time and time again from commuter students. Like a lot of people saying, I can't afford to live in Edinburgh, I can't afford to pay my bills.
Even students who live in here, it's not cheap to live here. The cost of living's higher. It's difficult to try and maintain not even just a healthy lifestyle, but even a lifestyle in the city.
On my first day here, I saw a protest outside of McEwan Hall with a big banner saying, it was something like 3 out of 5 Edinburgh Uni Hull students end up homeless after they graduate or after their first year, or something like that.
In countering steep living expenses on campus, the Resident Assistant Programme can provide affordable housing for students. I am going to meet Zach, an RA, to talk about the job and if it is a sustainable solution. So you're an RA, why did you decide to be one?
Well, there's two main reasons, and to be honest, it's the same for every other RA. One is that the housing situation's not the best. It's impossible to find a flat, basically. You need to wake up super early every morning, look at all the listings, and when you do finally get a chance to go to a viewing, the lines are massive. And on the other hand, it's so expensive to find a flat. It's so expensive. It's like £700 a month, £800 a month. Then you have deposits. Meanwhile, when you're an RA, at least for this year, you get a 75% discount and guaranteed accommodation. If you're a university accommodation RA, you basically are the only staff that's there. So you're doing all of that. You're having to deal with lockouts at 2 in the morning when you're trying to sleep. You're having to deal with it when someone's puking their guts out all over their flat's floor. And at the end of the day, you're still a student, and while you're getting a discount, you're still actually not getting paid, and you're not even getting it for free. So I think it's a far rougher deal. And I do distinctly remember my boss someone told me that my boss said to an RA who worked in a university accommodation that they can't get a normal job. They should be expected to only do the RA job for some reason, because that's supposed to cover their rent. And I'm wondering, I think that's unfair in the first place. You should still be able to get a job as long as it aligns with your duties as an RA. But if you're cutting the pay in extra, are they still expecting people to not get another job on top of that? I just think it's quite unfair, and I do feel like that the RAs in university accommodation are quite mistreated. I've gotten really lucky, but I'm in the minority. I've also heard that there are some RAs who are having to be on duty for weeks at a time dealing with this, because some accommodations only have like 2 or 3 RAs. For us, there's 8 of us, so we just do it once every 8 days. So once again, it's quite easy for us in that way. But for other RAs, they're having to deal with what I've just said for weeks at a time. That means they're sacrificing all social life, because you're supposed to be on site from 6 o'clock at night to 8 the next morning when you're an RA. In a normal job, right, obviously you lose your money if you quit. But here you get evicted if you quit. Or at the very least, at the best case scenario, they'll reassign you to a different accommodation. For the people in like the cheaper accommodations, like Kincaid's, for example, they are at the centre of the university, and there's enough people there that they get on with each other, but it is hard to connect with people from like the more expensive accommodations, such as Salisbury, such as Pollock, because it just feels like they live in a different world. We aim to hold a university accountable for just completely forgetting about their Scottish and working class students. There's no support out there for us. It's isolating, and there's also a culture of just mockery, and it's like people, every time I go into a tutorial, even like tutors, even lecturers, they'll make fun of my accent, and I'm like, I'm from here, I live an hour down the road. It's like, why am I funny? Why am I a circus act? It's quite rough.
The RA programme is in danger of being cut, pushing students towards more common part-time jobs in retail or hospitality, but is working in these jobs while studying a suitable financial solution for students?
Teachers are more understanding now, but in first and second year I'd be like, oh, like I've not been able to read the book. I've been doing 4 shifts this week on top of full-time uni. Like I've just not had the time, and it's like, I feel like they were quite disappointed in me. And it wasn't that extreme, but it's like I did feel a bit guilty, and it's like I shouldn't be in the class if I've wasted time. And I did have a teacher that was covering the class saying that we shouldn't go to the class if we haven't done the prep work. But as someone that was working 20 hours on top of about 15 hours of classes a week, like, and having to do all the prep for all those classes, sometimes I do have to pick and choose.
During the exam season, it is really difficult, just with the amount that I try and put on myself. And obviously you've got to take into account, like, I do still need to go to work as well, and maybe I am putting in for holidays and stuff that I wouldn't normally have to put in for at work, or I'm taking time off that I wouldn't normally have to take off.
I actually complained last semester because I had 3 exams in a row, 1 day in between, and then a huge essay at 70% due. But I was also working, and my work were refusing to take me out of shifts. I had to find cover, but then everyone was doing overtime. No one wanted overtime. but I managed to get it done anyway, but I had to apply for an extension. But we only get 3 now.
I think that's partly ignorance on the university's behalf, is that you're only going to have 3 instances in your entire year. You're not able to predict, especially when deadlines are due around Christmas. That's retail's height. You, like you said, they're refusing to remove your shifts. Do you feel like the university understands your need to work more than your want to
No.
work?
When I was in first year, I remember looking at the uni's website and it says we recommend you work a maximum of 15 hours a week. But for some people, that's not an option. It's my main source of income, my job. And so I'm having to, you know, I work in retail, so there's a shortage of hours when I'm in second semester. So I do have to bulk up my shifts in the first semester so that I've got funding in place and to like help support myself and have savings. But I've had a meeting like with teachers and like they're so shocked that I've got a job even, and I tell them I'm a 12-hour contract and they're like, oh, that's too much, like you need to like prioritize uni, but I just can't.
I think work's so strenuous sometimes, and you're trying to take a lot on, especially as a commuter as well. Like I have my job the whole year round. So in terms of trying to keep that in order and trying to stay on top of everything else, a lot of the time you're working 7-8 hour shifts, sometimes 4 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever it is. I don't see how that isn't grounds for an extension kind of thing, because you're working really hard.
Yeah.
And it's not easy, and a lot of times you come home and you just want to lie in your bed. And
There's a lot of people that are like really shocked that I've got a job, or they're just shocked that I like don't live near the uni, and it does contribute to like feeling othered when I already feel othered, because I do find it kind of annoying, not to nitpick, but it's like I'm getting up at 7 just to get to my like 9 a.m. and there's people that have just rolled out of bed and they're like complaining about how tired they are, but then I've got a full day and then I'm going to work after, so it's like I'm out the door from like 7:30 till like 9:30 some nights, and I just feel it's not like to be like I've got a hard life, but like I just feel like I've put in a lot more work than other people. It would be a lot easier if I lived near uni.
So even without the working aspect, a lot of effort is going into participation for you. How strenuous would you say is the actual commute by itself?
With the commuting itself, it's quite stressful, because my days have to start 4, maybe 5 hours before a lecture starts. So today I had a lecture at 12, I had to be up at 7:30. And I need to get 2 buses into uni, two back, and if one's late or I miss one, I'm stranded basically.
It's like an hour, 2 hours cut out of your day just from like getting in and out of town. I mean that's just from the commute. Then you have the whole thing of like, waiting at the bus stop, walking home, like, and when you know you've got so much work to do, but you're like, I'm gonna be sitting in a bus for like 2.5 hours today, and like there's not gonna be any Wi-Fi because I'm going through a bunch of trees and things, and like, yeah, it's rough. But
you're relying on a service not being cancelled, or you're relying on traffic being okay, and sometimes you can't foresee some of these things, so a lot of time like it can impact sometimes. Like there's been times I've turned up for classes 20 minutes late because there's been traffic that I've not accounted for and stuff, which can be difficult because then you need to try and catch up with that, and you don't know what you've missed, and it's a little bit difficult at times.
I think when you're a commuter, it definitely takes a lot longer to find your happy place and to find where you fit at uni, because you're not kind of living in the bubble of the University of Edinburgh. You've kind of got one foot in and one foot out.
So do you get the train every day?
Yeah, whenever I'm at uni I get the train.
How often are you in?
Just 2 days a week just now.
Yeah. How much is it?
It's like £8 normally.
Yeah.
Depends on the time though, if it's like peak hours.
Yeah, I suppose you can't really come in all the time then, is that?
Yeah, it'd be quite a lot.
Do you enjoy commuting, or do you find that it kind of hinders your experience?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely miss out on some things. Like in my degree we have cohort meetings, so like if you can't be there due to like commuting or work, then like you miss them altogether. They're not like recorded or anything, so you definitely miss out on like stuff like that.
Do you like come onto campus to use the library or anything?
I use it when I'm there, but like I wouldn't come into uni just to go to like a library or a uni building, just because like you're not guaranteed a seat or anything, especially around deadline time. So I wouldn't want to like commute in just to not find anywhere.
Yeah, a bit of a gamble, I
Yeah.
suppose. Yeah. Do you think that it'd be easier if there was maybe a commuter dedicated area?
Yeah.
You'd be likely to come in more.
Yeah, definitely, because like commuters, you're just waiting about between classes, and like you don't have anywhere else to go apart from like being on campus really. So yeah, I definitely feel that would make a difference. I would come into uni more as well, I think.
Flag students are much more likely to struggle with accommodation and financial matters that lead them to becoming working or commuter students, not out of choice but out of survival. This economic situation causes flag students to be much less present on campus.
I think the social aspect is what takes the heaviest hit from commuting, because the second my lectures are done, I'm away. I'm hours away from the uni. And it means I can't really go out. I'm 18 years old, I can go out, but takes that away. I can't really do much with societies. I was looking into it at the start of the year, but isn't really feasible. And apart from other people commuting from similar areas to me, I haven't really had the chance to make many friends.
Obviously, certain things like sports societies for commuters are completely and absolute no, because a lot of them have like practice at 6 a.m. or like, and obviously like buses are not running before 6 a.m. Like you're not going to get there.
I do feel excluded, and everyone's making friends in first year. They all know each other from all their flats and from their classes, but I joined during COVID, so then that was even worse because it was like I felt othered for being like one of the only Scottish students in my class, and then also felt othered for like having no friends near the uni, and I found it really hard to make friends.
I feel like in certain cases it makes you not looked at as a proper student. It seems like you show up then leave. And there was a situation last semester where I sat next to a guy in a class, start chatting away to him fine. I find out he's from a bit of a posher background. I don't particularly care, I'm fine with that. Then when I start telling him about myself, he kind of backs away for the conversation. Then the next time I saw him, I got completely blanked.
In terms of going to socials, joining societies, joining clubs, I haven't really done that, and I do think that is because I stay at home.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to socialise because it was like such a drag to just like commute just to go like a bar uptown, and it's like, well, no one really wants to come to like my local pub near me. I just feel like there's no opportunities for me to like socialise, and I do feel like I missed out a lot on like the student experience, and I feel like I have to an extent wasted an opportunity because I'm never going to be able to go to university again really, and I feel like I did miss out on that, but it is what it is.
Class-based discrimination is obviously, since I started uni at least, has been a very, very prevalent issue. Obviously with the stuff in the tab, what was it, November last year, something like that. And I feel like before I started uni, that all have just happened again and again and again. And as much as it sucks and all that, I feel like probably with Edinburgh Uni more than any others in Scotland, class-based discrimination will always be an issue no matter what. Just with students being from all over the world, all over Britain, etc.
What comes with being a member of staff is an unwritten pass. You're in the gang now. And I came from just over the bridge in Fife, went to a state school. It was fairly mixed. You know, there were there was a lot of, well, it was mostly working class, but there was a wee bit of variety there. But certainly at school, I did well academically, and that was quite unusual. And I think in some ways that brought a little bit of pressure because the school expected things of you. It was kind of like, oh, what are you going to be, a doctor or a lawyer? I'm like, oh, well, don't know.
So I think I could see like elitism emerge pretty early on. So after my primary school, there was kind of an expected secondary school that everybody went to in the area. And I went to the open day and I really didn't like the school. It performed very well. They had, standout students that there were pictures of everywhere around the school. And I just didn't vibe with it. And I went to the school that people in the area referred to as the shit school. So I didn't even consider, universities that were considered to be like the cream of the crop. I went to University of Sussex, which was a 1970s university and was known to be quite radical. And it did things very differently. It didn't feel like an elite institution. And it also had a lot of WP students, a lot of state school educated students.
As much as you can have any expectation of what university is going to be like, age 17, i.e. very little, my expectation I think was, well, I'm from only 15 miles away. You know, I've come to Edinburgh on the days out. You know, Edinburgh's a city I know. It's, you know, I feel completely entitled to be here. And so I think in my mind, I thought, well, Edinburgh will be a comfortable place for me. You know, that'll be somewhere that I feel totally at home. But actually the reality was completely different, because I wasn't surrounded by folk down Princess Street, or I wasn't in a club just hanging out with folk. Or, you know, I was surrounded by a selected sort of proportion of society, and that selection was made in a way that didn't necessarily feel that comfortable for me. Didn't feel, like you say, it didn't feel like I was part of that gang in a way.
I recognise how difficult university is for a lot of students, especially from working class backgrounds, who have to constantly argue for their position in a university, especially in an elite university, especially in a Russell Group university.
But I understand how it can be reassuring sometimes to hear from someone who sounds like you, who you sense really gets the core things that you're concerned about. You know, it's like, and I think that's something that I've always struggled a wee bit with. It's like, shouldn't it feel more Scottish? But at the same time, I don't know what that means. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not something that I can define. It's like, well, what specifically would I like to happen here? And actually, the people I work with, brilliant. Students I meet, brilliant. You know, all the interactions I have with people are positive now. So really, there isn't anything I want to change.
But I think as time goes on, it will probably be a bigger issue for me and other commuters. That might be treated as a bigger issue, but I just don't think it will. I think the mistreatment of commuter students, I think the mistreatment of lower-class Scottish students will just continue.
Despite these issues being ongoing, Scottish students are feeling increasingly heard and supported. With all the media attention this gained, politicians and university staff are now seeing this as a legitimate issue, and there's been measures put in to protect Scottish students. And with the Scottish Social Mobility Society being formed, there's a community of Scottish students that are ready to support and help prospective students who also face similar issues integrate into the campus.
Up until this year, no one's been speaking about the issues. I'd say like with joining the committee for the Scottish Social Mobility Society, it's definitely like improved my like awareness of other people's issues.
I'd say my sports are more sort of relief kind of thing, because I get a bit of time away from just everything else. That helps my mental health so much, my physical health so much.
It's about time that something like this has been needed in Edinburgh and Edinburgh Uni for a long time, and it's about time that it's here. So even if the uni doesn't change, like, you know, with this society, the Scottish Social Mobility Society, you know, having this here and being loud about it and shouting about it.
I've had even people at my work see it on the news and be like, oh, like, I saw this on the news. So I think it has like sparked a debate about stuff, and I wish it was there in first year, because I think my university experience would have been much better.
Like, since I've came to the Scottish Society like events and like socials, it's been really fun, and like I got on with them instantly. You just click with people who've got the same backgrounds to you.
Scottish and mobile. She did mobility there.
And mobility, wow.
Sure, David. Look, demo.
It's more comforting for myself to know that there's a lot of other people that experience the same issue, and even just seeing the amount of messages the committee get from like random students saying that they've got the same issue, or like they've overheard like this being spoken about, and like that it made them feel uncomfortable. Like, it made me feel like I've got more of a community on campus, and that's something that I missed out on.
So it's definitely a community for me, and the reason why I'm social sec is to like encourage this community and get more people to come. So it would be good to get numbers up, and if everyone came, looking at you, cheeky, but yeah.